We're sisters, best friends, and authors on a mission to help you stoke your creative fire and live the life of your dreams. We believe that purpose fuels passion and that creativity is your secret weapon for mass construction. There's never been a better time to bless the world with your dream realized. You're listening to The Kate and Abby Show.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Kate and Abby Show. We are thrilled to have you here. So cool to see all of your stoked faces watching on YouTube or listening on other podcast platforms. Of course, we can't see you on those platforms. We can't even see you here on YouTube, but we're happy you're here nonetheless. And we're happy you can see us getting excited because we want you to get excited about today's topic. Today's topic is one of writers' most dreaded topics when it comes to writing, and that is the editing process. But we're not going to just talk about editing from a, dry stance of how you edit. How do we go about this? We're going to talk about how you can get excited and actually have a fun time doing it. And that might sound impossible. You might be thinking, but approach this with an open mind. Open your mind, open your heart to this subject of editing, because we're going to dive into some ways that it can actually be fun for you, can actually be a good experience. It can leave a good taste in your mouth and actually make you feel better about your book and your writing. So we're going to go over some things that we apply to our own manuscripts. I just finished editing the last book in my series, the Sparrow duology, the follow-up series to my Blood Race series. And it's called Sparrow Rising. It's coming out soon. I'll keep you updated on that. But I just finished editing that. So this is fresh in my mind. And it can be tricky to apply these things, but it does help. We're going to break down all of that. But First, we have to thank our sponsors, who are you guys. You're the ones who support this show and help us keep it going, and we so appreciate you guys. So if you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abby Show and help us keep this show alive and free of interruptions. So it's actually very timely for me as well, this topic, because I am going to be working hardcore on edits, rewrites, and revisions. Right. I was going to say, aren't you doing a lot of rewriting?
Yes, and in the month of June, some of you guys already know, hopefully a lot of you guys already know, that I am going to be doing another virtual writing retreat in the month of June, and you are all invited. So I'm hosting it on my channel every weekend, and every Wednesday we're going to be live writing together on my channel. It's going to be so much fun all through the month of June, which, by the way, means that we're going to be taking a break from podcasts and videos, for my channel anyway, during the month of June. Kate is going to still be making some fun videos.
I'm going to be actually Abby's taking a writing retreat with you guys in June, and I will be taking a photography retreat in June. I'm going to be launching back into creating some incredible Vermont videos. I'm really, really excited for that. So many of you guys have been like, hey, when are we making more Vermont videos? So many Vermont videos coming. And sustainability, low waste living, creative writing, exploring the rugged mountains of Vermont, all that stuff. And I'm going to explore a lot of that in June. So I feel like we're not like really taking a break at all. Like we're like, you guys are going to be writing hopefully with Abby this June. And then we're going to circle back and meet up, all of us, in July, first Monday of July. And
for the 100th episode of The Kate and Abby Show, which is going to be special.
Yeah, we're going to plan something special. We haven't decided. Do you guys have what would you like to see us do for a celebration episode? Maybe you can comment below, give us some ideas, because we really want to do something fun and celebrate with you guys, because this isn't just about Abby and I having a podcast. This is about us having a community with you guys, and we love each and every one of you so much. We love reading your comments. We love reading the messages you guys send us. We love the sense of community that we see forming around this fun discussion that we get together and have every week about writing and publishing, and it's fantastic. Such good energy. So tell us how you'd like us to celebrate the 100th episode. So yeah, lots of stuff coming up. Lots of editing has happened for me. Lots of editing will be happening for Abby. So I feel like this is a timely episode for talking about how can we make this fun? How can we title this episode, How to Make Editing Not Suck. Because that's what we're all wondering, right?
Yes. Especially in June, I'm going to be working on basically rewriting an old manuscript, which includes a lot of editing. And I've already actually started that process. And the number one thing, which I've written down here, that I do to make editing not suck is to print off my manuscript on 3-hole punch paper and put it in a 3-ring binder, usually a pretty looking binder that maybe has some fun pockets and little compartments in it to stick notes, and to have more of a hands-on, literally, experience with my manuscript. This automatically makes it way more fun and engaging for me and more creative because it feels different than sitting at your laptop staring at a Word document or staring at even your Scrivener project. It just feels like more of an experience.
Do you find you can get through it faster too?
Yeah.
Because I was noticing
Yeah, I do.
that because when I got Sparrow Rising back from my editor and proofreader, I then printed the entire thing off and read it, and I was like, "Oh man!" Because my deadline was coming up to send it to my
you
audiobook
just
publisher.
you devoured that thing.
I had like 3 days. I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" I don't think I'll be able to read it because I'm not a fast reader. I didn't think I'd be able to read it in time, but I did. I read it in like 2 days, which is insane for me, and it's like 115,000 words. That's a long book for me, and normally that would take me a few weeks to read, and it took me only 2 days. And I'm like, wow, printing it off instead of sitting in front of a Scrivener document, it's just like you can get through it faster when it's on paper.
Also, it saves you tons of eye strain, and there's no distractions.
Yeah.
So it's like the internet isn't right there beckoning you to YouTube for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
which turns into 15 minutes, which turns into an hour.
Right. And it's not focused work. It's not as focused as it could be.
Yeah, and I love just being able to have highlighters and make notes all over the manuscript itself. It makes me just more creative and open-minded, I find, with revisions and rewrites, and it makes the process feel more fun. And basically, what I'm trying to do here is like make it as romanticized as possible.
Yeah.
Like creating that main character energy around your editing experience.
So what does that mean, main character energy?
Like basically it's the concept of like being the main character of your own life, like feeling like the main character of your life. I'm probably like paraphrasing it way more than a lot of people have made videos about it and stuff. So you can learn more
I've
about it
never
online.
heard of this.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like just romanticizing your life and feeling like you are the main character of your own story and kind of like bringing this happiness and gratitude for what you're doing rather than just like slogging through work. It's like, what if you almost dramatized and romanticized this experience to be something that you actually enjoy doing, you know? So if you can imagine that you're like some incredible novelist in a movie with an epic montage of you just hardcore editing your manuscript with some motivational music in the background, suddenly that seems like way more appealing than,
that's true.
than just hammering away at something.
That's important too, is to approach it with an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
Like realizing, I get to do this. That's awesome. What a blessing that you even have been able to write a book and now you're here at this stage. It's like
something to be proud of.
You're
for
like
sure.
you're more than halfway up Everest here, man. Be stoked about how far you've come. Like, yeah, the rest of the way might be difficult, but be like, wow, I'm grateful that I even get to be here, because there are a lot of people who aren't on the mountain at all and who are like, oh, maybe someday I'll be able to do that, but not right now, I can't, or there's something preventing them from doing it. You've actually done it and you're almost there.
Yeah.
Remind yourself of that. Like, that's really important to remind yourself of. And I know I reminded myself so many times when I was finishing up Sparrow Rising, like, hey, this is my last shot to make this book everything that I've dreamed of it being, and reminding yourself of that. And instead of it turning into this thing where you're like, oh, I dread doing this, I can't wait till it's over, it kind of shifts your perspective to be like, hey, Am I as mindful as I could be of everything that I'm working on right now? Am I as aware as I could be of everything that's going on in this scene, in this paragraph, in this line? Is it as good as it could possibly be? Because this is my last shot to make it great, to make it feel like I poured my heart and soul into it and gave it my all. Because it would definitely be a crappy feeling to like finish your book, publish your book, and then a year down the road you like are going back over and you're like, I could have made this so much better, and I just like breezed over it because I wanted to be done.
Right.
Like that would be a really lame feeling. So it's better to put in the work now and remind yourself that, hey, this is my chance.
Yeah. I always like to say editing is what makes the difference between a 4-star book and a 5-star book. And that's what I always try to remind myself of when I'm
Cool quote.
in
Yeah,
the
I like
editing
that.
process.
Did you come up with that?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that.
Really?
No, that's
I feel like
real.
I've said it
That's
several
true.
times.
That is true.
Because it's like those finishing touches, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of like in like Fixer Upper, like when, Chip like helps build the whole house and stuff. But then those like last couple hours when Joanna goes in and like puts all the pretty stuff on the walls and moves the furniture around just so. And like that's what makes the wow factor when the homeowners walk in. They're like, wow, and start crying and stuff.
Right.
It's like those final touches. Like if they just walked in after it was constructed, be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, nice floor plan.
This is good, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
What I mean? So it's kind of like that. It's those final touches that just create that wow factor.
Yeah.
I know I'm notorious for using like home building examples for books, but it's applicable because you're building something from the ground up. You have the structure, you have the actual like meat of the story, but then you have those final touches, those nuances that at the very last minute, you're still like making sure everything is just as it should be, fine-tuned to perfection.
Yeah. Yeah, that it really is. It's a great metaphor. Right now with the manuscript I'm working on, I feel like I am Chip smashing through walls.
Demo day.
It's demo day for sure. So another way that we like to kind of make the editing process not suck and enjoy it is to get in the mood to edit the same way that you would get in the mood to write. So get yourself excited with playlists and Pinterest boards and any kind of supplemental material that helps you to get inspired about this story.
Yeah, like get yourself all fired up like if you're going to sit down and write.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do all the same things because actually that will like cause those same neurons in your brain to fire like, ooh, we're going to have fun writing.
Yeah, and you'll be more creative. And editing really does require creativity.
Yeah, it does. Definitely. And if you sit down to edit with already this attitude of like, this is not going to be fun, like you're already inviting.
I have to edit this now.
Which like we both know how that feels. And don't be hard on yourself if sometimes you feel like meh. But try to curb it as best you can. Try to invite positive energy into the experience because, hey, it's only going to benefit you. I mean, this is only affecting you, really. So the more positive energy you can invite, the better it's going to make you feel. The better it's going to be for your own mental and emotional well-being, your creative well-being. So do the same things you would do if you have a routine maybe that you do before you start a creative writing project. Maybe you like set the mood by like lighting a candle, putting on your favorite writing playlist, sitting by a window, choosing your writing space, making a cup of tea or coffee. Do all those same things and set yourself up for greatness for your editing session, just like you would to sit down and have a focused writing session. It can be really pretty much the same thing if you invite those same elements of creativity and, peace into the atmosphere.
Yeah. I agree. And it can also open up your mind to new possibilities with things you could add to the book. Right. A lot of times I hit areas where I'm like, oh, this could use more. This could use an extra scene. And if I'm already in a creative headspace where I'm already, I've been building my Pinterest boards and listening to music that reminds me of the book and thinking about it and brainstorming it. Now I'm in a space to be constructive and not just to see all the problems and not know what to do with them.
Right. Because I think there's a misconception, is there not, of go in with like the machete and just start
kill your
like
darlings.
Mercilessly. Yeah, kill your darlings. That's like such a famous editing quote that you always hear within the writing world. And it's almost like encouraging you to approach this process with this I'm here to relentlessly chop up all the things mindset. And it's like, well, yes, you can let go of something you feel is no longer serving this story, is more of how I like to look at it. But at the same time, you're looking for what creative power could serve the story better. You know, what creative energy can I bring? Is it, like you were saying, an additional scene? Maybe even adding another character. Who knows? You know, if you're reconstructing a story here or doing a rewrite, like Abby was mentioning, doing this June, you know, the sky's really the limit. You can do whatever you want. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I'm just going through and clinically cutting things out and there's really no creativity involved. Approach it with, hey, I'm going to be adding a bunch of new exciting things here. And I wonder what creative path I will feel inclined to take. And then at the same time, anything that doesn't line up with the new creative flavors you want to add, you can let go of those things. But it doesn't have to all be cut and dry, just, you know, butchering this novel and there's no creativity involved.
Right. Yeah. I had an experience like that recently where I decided to change one element about the book I'm working on, and it like totally changed my perspective on it, and I got really excited for it.
That's so cool.
Which you already know, I told you about, which is the change of setting. And so it originally, this doesn't really give away this doesn't spoil anything, but originally most of the book took place in California on an orchard, and I decided to switch it to take place in Vermont instead.
Yes, and I was so happy. I was so happy about this.
I know. I'm really happy too. I'm really excited to rewrite it now because not much has to change. And I'm really excited because Vermont is just like holds such a special place in my heart, both our hearts. So it's just going to be more fun to write about a place that I've grown up in that I love so much. So things like that, like what's one ingredient you could change that would like automatically make it something fresh and interesting and new for you.
If there's something that's like, this is just hard for me to write because like, let's say you're writing in a setting that you're unfamiliar with and you're like, oh, this is just this element of this book that annoys me so much because I feel like I don't have a good handle on this thing. Or maybe you're writing about someone who has a hobby or a job that you don't know anything about and you're like, oh, I hate writing this because I feel like I don't understand that. Well, can we change that and make it something you do understand, something that you are excited about, something that you feel super comfortable with, that, you know, just think of, hey, if it was this instead of that, if they had this job instead of that job, would I feel excited to write it? If it took place in this location instead of that location, would I feel more excited to write it? That can be a good question to ask yourself. Yeah. Because if it gets you more excited, that's going to make you more stoked about the whole process.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that came to mind when you were talking that I constantly do when I'm editing is, and this is more of a technical thing, but I don't let myself get stuck in one place enough to stop and not proceed forward. So by that, I mean, if you have to go back to it, better to go back to it than to let yourself get stuck and desert it and have like bad feelings towards it, you know? So a lot of times I'll encounter a problem area where something needs to change, or I'm just not even sure what needs to change. The whole paragraph sounds bad. And I'll just highlight it with a color that means, you know, rewrite this. And I'll say, you know, I don't know, help. I'll write IDK help in the margins. Literally, these are my professional editing notes. And I'll come back to it later when I'm like more in a creative headspace, you know? Yeah. I don't let myself get stuck on something and then not proceed because I have to figure out this one thing and I can't figure it out, you know, which this might go without saying for some writers, but I know some writers get really frustrated when they kind of hit a roadblock in the editing process and feel like, well, I can't just continue, I have to fix this. It's like, well, you don't necessarily have to fix it right now. I mean, I'm constantly like doing second, third, fourth passes on chapters that I've gone through and edited because I'll know something has a problem, but I don't know how to fix it yet. And so I'll just make a note about it and come back later. So that's another thing that I do, more of a technical thing, to make the editing process not suck. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and also like, don't write off the whole book. Like you hit a paragraph or even a page and you're like, see, this whole book sucks. I knew it. Throws it across the room. Like, don't feel like that. Like there's lots of other good stuff. And every writer feels that way. Like me and Abby feel that way about stuff we write.
Yeah.
All the time we're like, oh, whoa, did we even write that? Wow, that needs help. So it's like, it's part of the natural process of writing.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with it.
And that's why I highly recommend before you even start editing, make a list of all the things that you love about the book. Like make a note to yourself. I do this every time I go to revise or edit a novel is I write like, I do like kind of an interview with myself and I write out answers to certain questions being like, what is it I love about this story? Where do I feel the story could be improved? What are the strong points of the story? Why do I love the characters? Why do I love the themes? And once you make like this list of positive things about your book, you can really see like the gold in it. And
I love that.
It makes it more motivational, I think, to edit. And also when you get discouraged, it's harder to just throw in the towel because there's that reminder of, you know,
why it matters.
Why it matters, exactly. And by the way, if you guys want to dig more into like technical aspects of what I look for when I'm editing, all the various processes, both revisions and line edits, we're going to link some videos in the description box below that I've posted on my channel. More going into more of the specifics of like the technical aspects of my editing process.
Abby's done 1 or 2 or 10 videos about this. So this is just a nice springboard for you guys to discover more in-depth conversation on this issue with Abs.
Yeah, because I could sit here for an hour and go over all the technicalities, but this is mostly about how to feel inspired and encouraged and to enjoy the editing process because it can be enjoyable.
Right. And I think a lot of times we just psych ourselves out because we're already approaching it with like this negative energy of like, oh, this is going to be tiring and exhausting and I'm going to feel burnt out and I wish I was writing instead. Like, let's think of this as a creative journey, every bit as creative as writing a new book.
Yeah.
Because it really can be. And it can be just as much fun in so many ways. Yeah. If you approach it with the right mindset and give yourself the right tools, the right space, the right frame of mind.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's really all about perspective. And that's so much of what it takes to be a writer is to just have perspective, have different perspectives on things that maybe you didn't like a way to look at something that was unexpected or just playing with different creative options. And also, if you find that you need to add words or cut words, there can be new adventures that you can go on with that. So let's say you have to add more words to your manuscript. I actually have to add more words to my manuscript, about like probably 15,000 words, I'd say, from the original. And the way I've decided to do that is to explore some new subplots. And so that's been interesting to be able to kind of outline from scratch new subplots for a story that's, 6 years old. Right. So I've been able to kind of explore what potential does this side character have that maybe I overlooked, and give them a story that kind of coincides with and matters to the main character. And conversely, if you have too many words in your book, maybe it could be turned into a series or a duology or a trilogy. Like there's more potential here than you might be seeing immediately. So that's always fun to play with as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things to keep in mind too is, hey, if you're embarking on editing a book, that would be a great project to bring to the writing retreat as well. Yes. Because writing retreats are not just for writing a fresh, new, shiny novel. It could be for, taking a novel like Abby's going to do, taking something maybe you wrote a few years back and it still holds such a precious place in your heart and you want to do something with it. Maybe this could be the prompt for you to resurrect that manuscript and renovate that manuscript and make it something that you could even publish one day.
Yeah, totally. I'm really excited to get this manuscript looking good and to move forward on publishing plans for it.
Yeah, very excited. Yeah, so you're invited to join Abby's writing retreat. We're actually going to be talking next week. So don't miss next week's podcast because we're going to be talking about how to prepare for taking a writing retreat and how to take a really fun, effective writing retreat, kind of gearing you guys up to join Abby for the June writing retreat, right?
Yes.
So make sure you don't miss that one because it's going to be some good advice.
Yes, I'm very excited. It's going to be fun. I did this last year and it was great, but it was a little bit disorganized. I just kind of I did one live stream every week. So I'm like, of course I have to outdo myself again this year and do something more special and exciting and fun. So we're going to do 2 live streams a week and maybe even more than that. I don't know. It depends on what day is the end of June. I think the end of June is Thursday. We might do one for the very end, the final push at the end.
Yeah. Also, huge shout out to Abby's channel. Just hit 200,000 the other day. Yeah.
So exciting. I love you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for your support of my channel and also of the podcast. We're so grateful to have you guys here. Can't believe we're at 98 episodes. It's
going to be
crazy.
So much fun. We have so many new things planned. You guys don't even know all the plans that me and Abby talk about for future stuff we want to do, even going beyond the Kate and Abby show. So many things. We're so stoked to have you guys here. We try to read as many comments as possible and just show you guys as much love and appreciation as we can, because you guys are the backbone of what allows us to be able to sit here talking about writing and have these amazing conversations and this incredible sense of community with you guys.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you guys so much for listening. Comment below and join the discussion. We would love to hear your thoughts on this episode. What are some ways that you make editing more fun and enjoyable? We'd love to hear your tips as well. Drop them in the comments. And again, thank you so much to our amazing patrons. We love you guys so much. If you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abby Show and help us keep this podcast alive and free of interruptions. Give us a nice rating if you're listening on other podcast platforms. And if you haven't seen the YouTube version of this podcast, go to Kate's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/KAEmmons. And my YouTube channel is youtube.com/AbbyEmmons. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then,
stay stoked
and rock on.